Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another ep of the Fit and Free Potty. Oh, I've had such a good morning. I went to the gym and did a really good weight session, and now I'm sitting down to record this podcast episode for you guys. Oh, honestly, there is nothing better than a well-fueled and well-recovered/rested session. If you know, you know. And I am always so grateful for these moments because, honestly, I spent, from the age of 18 to 26 under eating and over exercising, and I didn't realize how shit I actually felt until I started to feel good, until I actually started fueling my body correctly and training and recovering from my training. God, it is such a difference. I remember, I would wake up every single morning being really, really lethargic and tired and felt like I was not rested and I was angry, and that was just I thought that was normal because that's how I woke up every day. Then I had to have a coffee, and then I had to go do movement in order for myself to feel better. What I know to be true now is that, well, hello, Laura, it's because you were doing way too much exercise and you were not eating enough, and that is why you're feeling like absolute rubbish. So I'm super grateful for the journey that I've been on, and that I get to help women with these exact things, because you all deserve to feel freaking amazing in your body and high energy, freaking amazing in your body and at optimal health, having good energy, having clear skin, having good sleep, not being irritable, not being moody, because it's so wild of how much our nutrition and our exercise and just our healthy habits literally dictate how we're feeling every day. And I was reflecting yesterday, and it's so crazy to me how so many people are jumping to these crazy extremes when they're not looking at how they're living and leading their life. So for an example, yesterday I woke up at 2 a.m. because my coach had a live coaching session that I really wanted to go to. So I set my alarm, I woke up at 2 o'clock, and I was up from 2 o'clock to about 3:30. And then at 3:30 I tried to go back to sleep. Whilst I then slept in until about 7:30. But yesterday but 7:30. So I felt a bit groggy and all the things, and I just went about my day, felt good, and then 3 o'clock hit. And this is where my sugar cravings went crazy. I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt this in so freaking long. I had really bad sugar cravings. I had really low energy. I was really lethargic, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do anything. And I just felt like shit. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, of course I feel like shit. My sleep was completely interrupted. I was up an hour and 45 minutes more than I normally would. And that has affected how I feel. And I was reflecting on that, and I was like, oh my God, of course I'm craving sugar. Of course I have no energy. And, and I thought about it, and if I was in a calorie deficit phase right now, I would be this would be extremely difficult to stick to. If I'm craving sugar this much and have this low energy, of course it's going to be really hard to plan my meals, to eat healthy, to not give into these sugar cravings. So and it was a lesson within that. It was just I talk about this all the time, but it's so cool being able to live through it and then reflect in on it, being people are, jumping to these extremes, doing these challenges, X, Y, and Z, but they're sleeping 5 hours, 6 hours a night, and then expecting to be able to follow through on the things that they need to do in order to lose weight. If you are struggling with sugar cravings, if you are, you've got really low energy, then it's going to be really, really hard to lose weight, because you're just going to feel like a zombie, and you're going to be probably craving sugar and feeling like shit all of the time. And this is why I'm so big on really focusing on lifestyle change and looking at our healthy habits, because improving your sleep can significantly help you lose weight more than any sort of pill, fat burner, intermittent fasting, anything, because that's going to be that's going to dictate how you show up every single day. Anyway, I just wanted to share that little story with you because it was a little bit of a moment for me, and I hope maybe that could be a little bit of a moment for you as well. So in today's episode, I'm super excited because we are talking all things fat loss fundamentals. So this is episode 2 of the fat loss series. If you haven't listened to episode 1 yet, I suggest you start there. Because they're going in a little bit of an order. So today we're going to be really talking about the fundamentals and nutrition essentials. I am going to be speaking to some of the most common mistakes I see females make when they're going on a fat loss journey, and then I'm going to be breaking down all things calorie deficit, macronutrients, all the things that you guys need to know in order to be successful with changing your body composition. So let's get into it. So let's move into the mistakes. I made this one for such a long time. I thought losing weight was going to help me change the composition of my body, like lose fat and look more toned. However, what you guys need to know is weight loss and fat loss are not the same thing. So many people confuse weight loss with fat loss and assume any number going down on the scale is success. However, here's the thing. Weight loss can come from losing muscle, water, glycogen, or even bone density, not necessarily fat. So if you are solely focusing on dropping weight through eating low calories and not thinking about your macronutrients and through excessive cardio, what happens is you often lose weight in the form of muscle, water, and glycogen. So while yes, the scale might be going down, it might either lead you to a skinny fat look rather than a toned physique, or the scale might go down and your body doesn't look that much different. This is why maybe you've tried like a 1200 calorie diet or you've tried a low carb diet. And initially you see a big drop in the scale and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is working. However, that initial drop on the scale is not necessarily from losing body fat, because the process of fat loss actually takes time, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But that initial drop is from eating less carbohydrates, so your body's holding onto less water, you have less glycogen in your muscles, so therefore you're going to see that reflected on the scale. And it hurts my soul because so many people, they cut their calories or they cut out carbohydrates, they see this initial drop, but then everything stops working. And then things slow down and stop working. And then the person is like, gets disheartened because they're like, oh my God, the scale's not moving near as fast as what it was. Oh my God, it's not working anymore. What's the point? I'm putting in so much effort. I'm cutting out carbs. I'm eating these low calories. I'm not getting anywhere. What's the point? Pull the effort button and say, I don't want to do this anymore. So then they lose the self-trust and the self-belief that they can actually lose weight, and they get stuck in these vicious cycles of being all in and all out. And this is what you guys have to understand, is that true fat loss, and this is what you guys have to understand, is so the difference between weight loss and fat loss then is fat loss is actually losing weight in the form of body fat, where you prioritize maintaining or building lean muscle whilst reducing the body fat. Not only does this create a toned look that most people are striving for, it also gives you more strength, a better metabolism, you can eat more, you feel more empowered, you You feel more empowered, and you just feel really, really good and toned and strong within your body, rather than just being smaller and weaker. So that's mistake number 1. Let's move into mistake number 2. So what a lot of people do is they just say that they're being good or being restrictive, and they say, I'm just going to eat less calories. I'm going to eat low calories. Maybe you're even tracking your calories on MyFitnessPal, and you're like, yep, I'm going to eat 1,400 calories or below. And what they do is then they just cut out unhealthy foods. They just put this black and white mentality into it and being like, no, I'm not going to eat that. That's bad. That's unhealthy. That's got too many calories. I'm not going to eat it. So essentially what they're doing to create this weight loss is just being restrictive without actually understanding or owning their nutritional phase or their macronutrients. And what do I mean by nutritional phase is your total calories, because without actually owning how much and what to eat in order to lose weight, because essentially it's science, and when you understand it, it actually is quite simple, and you don't have to cut out any foods to eat in a calorie deficit. In fact, it's important to include all foods when you're in a calorie deficit so you can freaking stick to it, right? And without this ownership of your numbers and actually understanding what your nutritional phase is. And when I say nutritional phase, what I'm talking about is either a calorie deficit, maintenance phase, or a surplus, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But without actually owning what that looks like for you, you can't actually understand on like how to lose weight and then maintain it. And I didn't understand this for a really long time either. I just cut out everything. I was being good. I was doing gym challenges and I would just be restrictive without actually understanding like, okay, right, I need to have structure and do a calorie deficit. And then like, cool, once I do that, then I have structure again around maintenance calories to then maintain it. And then I was like, oh, right, this makes sense now. But yes, that is a mistake that a lot of people make. They just think that being restrictive is going to give them the body they want, but then the body never lasts because they're not owning their numbers and they don't actually understand even how to maintain it once they lose it. And then of course as well of macronutrients, not paying attention to that as well. All right, the next mistake that I see people make is radical self-honesty and accuracy of portion sizes of food. So let's be real, eating in a fat loss phase is not as enjoyable as eating at maintenance calories. Absolutely. You do have to be a little bit more strict in terms of what you are eating every single day. And for a lot of people, they're not actually measuring their food accurately, and therefore that lack of accuracy is then affecting how many total calories that they're eating, and therefore their ability to lose fat or not. Well, yes, you don't have to be perfect, but there does need to be an element of it does need to be accurate, and it needs to be consistent. And for a lot of people, it does have to be consistent. And like I spoke about in the last episode, if you are someone who does struggle with emotional eating, or you pick between you're a snacker and there's no real structure in and around your food and what you're eating, it can be really easy to have a little bit more than you intended to, and therefore it's that little bit more here, there, and everywhere can be the reason why you don't lose the body fat that you want. So that is a mistake that I see people make, is just not being honest and not accurately reporting actually what they're eating that is affecting their ability to see results. Then the next mistake that I see is it kind of goes hand in hand with the restrictive piece, is people do not have a plan. They are not intentional. They don't have structure, and they don't, have a set goal. I'm going to do this for this time, and then I'm going to do this. You have to think about changing your body composition as building a house, right? Like if you don't have a solid structure and a plan when building a house, how well do you think the house is going to turn out? There's going to be cracks in the wall, there's going to be leaking pipes, and it's just going to turn into an absolute shit show. And to be honest, changing your body composition is exactly the same. If you do not have a structured plan, if you do not know what you have to do every single day, if you don't have something that's saying, yeah, this is how much you've got to eat, this is how you're going to train, and to get to A to B, then it's going to be very hard to stick to it for the long run. Because like, yeah, sure, it's easy to stick to things when motivation is high, when you're early on in a, fitness journey. But, when week 5, 6 hits, and all motivation's gone out the door, you're super stressed at work, maybe you've got a lot going on with the family, then if you have to make micro decisions and you then have to plan what you're going to do, then what's the first thing that's going to go? Probably how you are showing up within your life, because you don't have a plan and you don't have structure and you don't know what to do. It turns into a bit of a shit show. So essentially you're not able to stick to it. I like to use the metaphor as well of like, think about athletes, right? And think about any sort of progression, even in like a science experiment. It's, you have a hypothesis, you've got a method, you want to get to A to B, you want to reach these goals. What's the best way to achieve any sort of what's the best way to achieve any sort of goal? Whether you're an athlete trying to improve your 1RM deadlift, whether you're, doing a science experiment and you want to get to the end of you want to finish off the science experiment as accurately as possible. What is the thing that's that both of people have in common there is having a freaking what is the thing that they have in common is they have a plan, they have a method, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to the end result. Same with the deadlift. You have to do this, you have to eat this, you have to rest here, you have to do these exercises, you got to strengthen your hamstrings, you got to strengthen your lats, you got to practice your grip strength, you got to practice your lifting the bar off the floor, right? There's elements. And, if you're not ticking off those elements because you don't have a plan, then how are you ever going to get to where you want? And that's why I am so big on structure and intentionality within the Fit and Free Academy inside my recomp program. Like the way that I structure it is we pick your goal at the start of every 8-week block, and then we stick to it for 8 weeks. We get a result and then we reassess and make another plan. Literally step-by-step structure so my clients know exactly what they need to do in order to reach the goal that they want. Then there's no question, there's no what ifs, then it's like, cool, I know what I have to do, and if I stick to this, I'm going to be successful. Then the next mistake, and this honestly, it changed my life when I really lived by the word being intentional, because then it's like, well, you can achieve anything if you want, if you've got a solid plan and you stick to it and you trust yourself enough. So that's super amazing. Then the next mistake that I see is people are over focusing on cardio while neglecting strength training and protein intake. And this goes hand in hand with kind of what I spoke to last week, and as well as that top point is if you want to drop body fat, then you have to maintain your lean muscle. And how do you do that? It's not through cardio. Cardio is amazing for your cardiovascular health. Absolutely. It's got so many health benefits. I don't hate cardio. It may seem like I do, like on social media and things like that, but I don't. Cardio is an amazing tool and it is so good for your health. However, the problem lies is that when females are overdoing cardio and they think that they need to do that in order to see the results in their body is where people are going wrong. Because that's it. If you want to drop fat, you got to maintain your muscle. And how do you do that? Is progressive overload strength training following program and your protein intake. That's why it's so freaking important to be ticking those boxes and focusing on those things, because otherwise you are going to lose weight and you're not going to lose fat. Then the next mistake that I see so many people make is they are setting their calories too low. I see it. You look on MyFitnessPal and, you put your calories, you put your data in, and it tells you that you have to eat 1,200 calories in order to lose 1 kilo a week. But the problem is that if you create too big of a calorie deficit, and I see this all the freaking time, it leads to energy crashes, it leads to muscle loss, it also leads to binge restrict cycles, so you can't freaking stick to the calorie deficit. Also, what it leads to, if you're eating low calories and you're sticking to it for a while, is a thing called metabolic adaptation does occur. So your body does naturally adapt to the low calories that you're eating. And I'm going to explain this deeper into when I hit the how-to section. So just know that, if you are struggling with sticking to your calorie deficit when you're in a calorie deficit, it could be from your calorie deficit is just too big, your calories are too low, and therefore it's really freaking hard to stick to. Like when you're eating in a calorie deficit, it shouldn't feel that different. Shouldn't feel like you're super hungry, especially at the beginning. Well, yes, later in the calorie deficit, you will get really hungry, but at the beginning, it shouldn't feel too different. And that's where a lot of people are going wrong. Then the next thing is the next mistake that I see is people are changing their calories too quickly. Like people will start a calorie deficit and after 2 weeks, they will completely change something. Sorry, they're changing their calories too quickly. So for example, I've seen people, stick to a calorie deficit for 2 weeks and they feel like nothing is working. So they feel, I'm going to put an emphasis on feel, they feel like nothing is working, so they'll go and change something. They'll drop their calories or they'll put in extra exercise, and then they'll start overthinking everything and being like, oh my God, is this working? Oh my God, is this not? Oh my God, do I need to change something? And why this is happening is because number one is probably because you don't have a solid plan of A to B, and at A to B, you're probably not measuring it in the right you're probably not measuring your fat loss in a productive, So why this is happening is number one is because I think a lot of people underestimate how slow fat loss actually is. Fat loss is a really slow process and you're not going to see massive changes really quickly. And this is the difference between weight loss and fat loss. Weight loss, if you drop, and I get it because so many people are so conditioned to doing, dropping their carbs or dropping their calories and having these fast results on the scale. But like I already said, it's like those fast results more or less are always going to be coming from you dropping carbs or just dropping your calories and, having less food going through your digestive system. So all of this is going to affect the scale. So when you actually do it properly, the scale is going to move really slowly. And that's normal. However, people, because they're so conditioned to these fast drops and fast results, and they only feel like they can stick to something if they've got that instant gratification, it really impacts their ability to stick to the freaking calorie deficit. They sabotage themselves because they feel like nothing is working when it probably actually is. They just haven't given themselves enough time yet and they're not measuring it properly and they're focusing on weight loss instead of fat loss. Then they sabotage and they go and change everything. So when we make these mistakes, what happens is we don't get anywhere with our body composition. We lose weight and we then plateau, or we lose weight and we just rebound and regain it. Or for some women, they're losing muscle, so making them feel just smaller rather than more toned. And the biggest issue with these chronic diets is this does have an impact on our metabolism. It has an impact also with our relationship with food, right? It's creating an emotional cycle of guilt and restriction. It can lead to our metabolism down regulating, so we're maintaining on such low calories that just a little bit of food is going to make us gain weight. So making these mistakes is it's not only harmful, for our health and our body, but it's also harmful for our emotional well-being, right? It's this, all of these things, it impacts our confidence, it impacts our relationships, it's impacting how we're living our life every single day. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons why I love doing my podcast. It's from an education perspective, guys, because once you get it, once you have the education, once you understand how to fuel and your nutrition and exercise, this will no longer be an issue for you, which is really cool. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching my clients and teach nutrition the way that I do, because it's literally setting them up for the rest of your life. So now the mistakes are done, let's move into the how to. So when it comes to fat loss, it isn't just about eating less and moving more. It's actually about eating smarter and training smarter, right? Maintaining a calorie deficit and preserving lean muscle and providing the body with the nutrients it needs to function optimally. Because essentially, to lose fat and to get a fit and toned physique, it comes from the right combination of nutrients, strength training, and consistency. There is no shortcuts. And that's something that I want to speak to is, changing your body composition is not a one and done thing. It's not, sign up for this program in 8 weeks and you're going to be shredded. And that's what, the social media is making us believe. It's oh my God, these people are getting these results in 8 weeks. No, results don't happen in 8 weeks. Results happen in, 6-month blocks is when you're really going to be whoa, I did that. I can really see the difference in that. Okay. So that's the first thing. Now, how to lose body fat the right way, right? How to lose body fat and not just weight the right way. To lose 1 kilo of body fat, essentially you have to create a calorie deficit of 7,700 calories. Sorry, to say it again. So essentially, to lose a kilo of body fat, you have to eat in a calorie deficit for 7,000. Sorry, let's not go there first. So how do you do it? How to lose body fat the right way and not just weight. Cool. We're going to speak to this in nutrition, exercise, and then we're going to speak to mindset a little bit as well, of course, because that's what we do here. So with nutrition, what you guys have to understand is there's three nutritional phases that you can be in. Any point in your journey, you're going to be in one of the 3 phases. The first phase is maintenance calories. So this is just how many calories you are burning to maintain your current weight. The second phase that you can be in is in a calorie deficit. This is you being in energy negative balance. By being in negative energy balance, you're going to be able to lose body fat. So this is perfect for you if you want to lose more weight, you really want to focus on losing a lot of fat, that's the place that you want to be in. Then the last phase is a calorie surplus. So this is for you if you want to gain weight, if you want to put on muscle mass, if you want to grow your booty, if you want to grow muscle, then this is the phase that you want to be in, right? And as you can see, there's 3 different phases. And with these phases, you need to understand how to move through the phases. Because think about it, if we're always eating in a calorie surplus, we're just going to keep gaining weight forever, and that's not what we want. Same with the calorie deficit. If we just stay in a calorie deficit, then the body is going to adapt to it. We're going to run into so many metabolic issues, probably lose our period, no energy, poor sleep. It's not healthy to be there, right? So then, of course, you need to understand and need to learn how to maintain your weight, which is an absolute skill that so many people need to learn. When I learned how to eat at maintenance, I was like, oh my God, it's changed my life. Because this is the maintenance phase. I just say is where we live our life at that sweet spot of energy in, energy out. And and just being able to maintain our weight. The cool thing about eating at maintenance calories is you can still focus on changing your body composition in terms of body recomp. You absolutely can lose fat and build muscle at the same time at that maintenance phase. It is a lot slower than if you were to bulk and then cut, but at the same time, eating in at maintenance is a hell of a lot easier than bulking and then cutting. So it's just up to you and how you would prefer to go about your journey. Me personally, for a long time, I sat at maintenance and just body recomped, just focused on getting stronger. This year I changed my plan. I intentionally did a calorie deficit. This year I intentionally did a calorie surplus. The last couple of months I have been maintaining at that high weight, with eventually I am going to do a calorie deficit. I'm just waiting for the right time within my lifestyle and my life, and living in Bali and eating out twice a day is not supportive of that. So I am just waiting for a better time so when I know that I can stick to it. But that's just that, and that's it. It gets to be that simple. It's one of the 3 phases. Cool. Set your goal. Number 1. Number 2 is set your macronutrients. Why, on social media, macros have just become this huge thing. Just be like, oh my God, nail your macros. You have to be so strict. Brown rice, chicken and broccoli. I don't even know what the bodybuilder world actually is saying these days, because I have just muted it. All my Instagram videos now are cat videos. Anyway, but at the end of the day, macronutrients are important, right? They're not just, for bodybuilders. They're not just for bodybuilders. And I'm going to tell you why. All macronutrients are just the nutrients that your body needs in a large amount. That's it, right? Protein, carbs, and fats. And they all play a different role within the body. That's why they're so important, right? So your protein is for muscle repair, to build muscle. Then you have your carbohydrates. They're essential for energy. And then you've got your fats. They're so important for micronutrient absorption, and then as well as your hormone health, hair, skin, and nails, right? So that is very brief in terms of what the macronutrients do within the body. I'm not going to go too deep because I really don't think it's you need to. I'm not going to go too deep, but the thing that just you guys need to understand is that each of the macronutrients are different nutrients for the body, so therefore that's why you need to eat them. And then, of course, when it comes to changing your body composition from that lens, it's, okay, your protein is going to be responsible for maintaining your lean muscle. So then when you create a calorie deficit, you actually lose body fat and not muscle. So that's why we need protein. Then carbs. Why do we need carbs in a calorie deficit? Because they're going to be your energy. They're going to be the source of your fuel for your training, for your day-to-day life, for you to maintain the calorie deficit. You're going to need that energy. And then, of course, we need our fats as well to support hormone health. Because essentially, what are our hormones? They're our body's messages. They are keeping the body functioning day to day. So, of course, if we don't have enough, then we're sucking the energy out of our hormones, and we don't want that. So, you've set your overall goal to weight loss. So you've set your overall goal to fat loss. Okay, cool. So now you understand that out of the 3 phases, you need to eat in a calorie deficit. How do you do that? In order to eat in a calorie deficit, you want to aim to lose about 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. Like I said before, is people are just dropping their calories really low and creating these massive deficits. However, it becomes extremely hard to stick to, and the body also adapts quite quicker. So it's, you're shooting yourself in the foot you're shooting yourself in the foot, and essentially you're just setting yourself up for failing. So 0 to 0.5 to 1% of your body weight, what does that look like? So for me right now, I'm sitting at about 70 kilos. So what that looks like is to aim to lose 350 grams to about 700 grams per week. Like that would be a sweet spot for me. And why this is important, because like to lose that amount of body fat, it will probably be pretty easy for me because I won't feel that different. I won't feel heavily restricted. At the beginning, my energy will probably not really be affected because I'm still fueling my body in a really good amount, but I'm just slightly reducing my calories. And I think this is important to speak about as well, is because like it's the best way to do it is based off percentages of your current weight. And this is why for someone who has more weight to lose than somebody else, then they can lose more weight faster than someone who's in a smaller body. So me, for example, like I'm looking at losing 350 grams to 700 grams per week. Let's talk about someone who is about 50 kilos. If they wanted to lose weight, they're looking at like 270 to like 500 grams per week max, you know? So, you know, it's not a massive difference, but still is we just have to understand is that like when you have a lot more weight to lose, then it is going to be like you'll drop bigger numbers. And if you're in a smaller body, then it's very normal to lose less in the same amount of time. And that just comes down to, again, science. And that's where I see a lot of women get it wrong, especially when they're in the smaller bodies and, you know, they're sitting at maybe, you know, 65 kilos, let's say that, and they're expecting to drop these really big numbers every single week, and they're wondering why it's not working. It's because most likely the calorie deficit for where you're at is just a little bit too big, and therefore it's not going to be sustainable. Because at the end of the day, being in a calorie deficit, it comes down to sticking to it. You gotta freaking stick to it. And if you're not sticking to it because it's too big, then of course you're setting yourself up for success. So how do you find your calorie deficit? Is you find your maintenance calories, you figure that out, and then you create a sustainable calorie deficit, which is about just 10 to 15%. That's all. And like another reason why we don't want to go too big on the deficit is because it's going to affect our ability to train and get our daily movement in, because we know it is about energy in and energy out. And if our energy is really low, then we're not going to be able to do the movement that we need. We're not going to be able to train at the right intensities that we have to continue to progress there. So overall, you're not going to be able to see those results that you want. It really is like it's a balance. It's a seesaw act. Is about monitoring. It's about getting those numbers right, because once you get those numbers right, you guys, you'll kill it. So then when it comes to your macronutrients, your macronutrients is based off your macronutrients is based off your weight. So that's why every single person is different in terms of what their macros should be. Like that's why, and same with your calories, your nutritional phase, right? And this is why so many like challenges and diets and things like that, like people fail, is because the nutrition is not set up for their unique needs. And that's why I'm so big of everyone understanding their macros and their calories, because it is going to be different, because this stuff is based off your height, your weight, how active you are, what you do for work, how advanced in the gym you are, right? Like all of these things are going to affect how many calories you're burning. So therefore the macros you need to eat and the calories that you need to eat as well. Cool. So now we've understand our nutritional phase. So now you understand Cool. So once we set that up, we're eating in that calorie deficit that's not too big, suited for us. We got our macros right. Now what do? We have to track our progress. And we have to track our progress because now we're focusing on fat loss and not weight loss. We have to use photos. Photos are, in my opinion, are the best way, cost-effective way to measure fat loss. The other, another really great way of measuring fat loss is a DEXA scan. So DEXA. They are very reliable. They are the most reliable scans that you can get. because that really breaks down how much body fat to muscle mass you have to give you a really good reading on your overall body composition. Those in-body scans are not very reliable and they're not very accurate. We did a study. Well, we did a homework assignment when we were at uni on those in-body scans, on their accuracy, and your level of dehydration really affects it, because what we did is we all got an in-body scan, and then what we did is we then went and did a 45-minute spin class, and we turned off the aircon. We closed all the doors. Like, the goal was to make us sweat, basically. So then we did an intense 45-minute cardio session, and then after it, like, we weren't allowed to drink. During it, we weren't allowed to drink anything, and of course after, then what we had to do was get a scan, and that significantly. And then we had to do a scan again to see the difference between a hydrated state and a dehydrated state. And within that, it said that we had less body fat and more muscle just from that dehydrated state. So that goes to show, well, clearly you can't lose fat from a 45-minute spin session. You can see that that is significantly so dehydration levels significantly impact these scans, and the same thing would happen like with the scale as well. So that's why it's really important that if you are measuring your progress, that you are doing it in an accurate way, and the best ways to really be doing that is photos. I'm not big on using clothes as a measure of success. Well, yes, it can be good for some people. For other people who are, they've got a goal of like growing their glutes and growing some muscle, then of course, if you're getting bigger glutes and your pants are feeling different, that's a good thing. So that's why I don't personally think that using clothes is the best measure of progress in that sense. And that's why I really just genuinely like photos. And when it comes to photos, you need to make sure that your photos are clear AF. The mistake that I see people make with this is that they take photos in different light and different times of the day, different outfits, and different angles. The angle of your photo can really, change the way that your body looks. So that's why it's really important to be consistent. It's just like a science experiment. You got to keep the variables more or less the same to be able to successfully measure that progress. Cool. So then you measuring your progress in the right way, then you've got to set your start and finish, right? And that's exactly what we do here in the Fit and Free Academy. Inside the Recomp program is we set the start and we set the finish, and then measure the progress along the way. And then, of course, you got to trust yourself enough to stick to it. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. So that is how you guys are going to set up your nutrition to lose fat. I said I was going to do exercise and mindset in this podcast episode, but I'm actually just joking because I'm going to do a whole dedicated podcast to that. So do not worry. I'm absolutely going to break it down exactly what you guys need to do. But you're just going to have to wait for the next episode. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please, if you haven't already, if you haven't already, could you please scroll down and write me a little review? It really helps me get this podcast into everyone's ears, and that really does support me doing these every single week for you guys. So I would really appreciate that. And also keep sending me your DMs. I love when you reach out after you listen to an episode. I love a chat, so please do not be shy. Let me know if you have any questions following up on this episode. But that is it for today for this fat loss series, and I'm super excited to dive into all things exercise mindset in the next few episodes. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and have the best day ever.